Hello everyone, Silver Contrail here, doing another article aftermath. So I think I skipped last week. I skipped last week. I didn't really talk about my article so much. I talked about the new Shinra archetype. This week I did get some comments, so I can finally talk about things again. And that was on Ghostricks. So I did a side deck article on Ghostricks. It is very much still a casual deck, and while I don't like to do casual decks so much because I get comments sometimes being like, well, that deck really isn't relevant, so why would you need to side deck against it? You're going to play against this. And it is a really weird deck. And if people kind of get together and figure out what's going on with it, especially next set, they're going to beat you with it. And you're going to be like, wait, did I just lose to Ghostricks? And you're going to be upset. And yeah, it's better just be prepared for these things, especially if you can run some stuff and your side deck can kind of cover your bases, particularly if you're going into locals and you've got a bad matchup versus Ghostricks. It might be worth side decking for it, especially if you can side deck stuff that you're already, you can use in other matchups, things that have high utility. And that's really the key. I'm going to be showing some videos in the background, which we're currently playing, some Ghost Trick matches I played against one of my friends whose birthday is today. Happy birthday, Tom. And I also played a hazy deck, and I used that, I think, just last night even, to play against some Ghost Trick guy. And I ran into two needle ceilings, which you can watch in the video. It was really silly, and I still ended up winning. Uh, Hazies are good, man. Hazies are good. Uh, but yeah, so Ghost Tricks are interesting, and I got some comments, and I wanted to talk about those. Yeah, someone did mention that in the article I wrote the wrong attack for Draco Sack. Sometimes I forget that he's only a 26. It's actually kind of weak. Um, Someone suggested Ceasefire, which is, if you watch the video, Ghost Tricks do set a lot of stuff. So if you are going for burn, it's definitely a matchup that you're going to do well in. And if you are playing a burn deck, you're going to love playing against Ghost Tricks. That deck just loses really hard to burn. And someone else suggested Goblin Fan. Um, Although the problem with that is most of the Ghost Tricks, a lot of the relevant Ghost Tricks are level 3, so it doesn't necessarily do anything to them. And that's kind of meh. So I probably wouldn't side it. Um, and I think I suggested, what did I end up suggesting? Consecrated Light, is a really solid card in this matchup, even if they can, like flip it face down or whatever. Shadow Imprisoning Mirror is again good. I talked about Light Imprisoning Mirror just in this week's article. I talk about that quite a bit, and I just love the mirrors. I always will suggest them if they're relevant, and typically they are. They're really good cards. Um, and then yeah, Light of Intervention really just kills the deck. Or if you can play it, Dark Simorg is just ridiculous. Play that card, and then it's just whatever. You kind of just win straight off of it because they don't really have a way to get it off the field besides maybe a Dark Hole, or I guess Needle Ceiling if they're somehow playing two of those and they drew them in their opening hands. But anyways, yeah, Ghost Tricks are interesting. The more I play against it, and the more I kind of talk to people about it, it is a deck that sort of lacks a win condition. It kind of just wants to play this really slow game where they slowly whittle down your life points. And the problem with that is typically they're going to get outpaced eventually. They really want to outpace the opponent. They're not particularly good at it. They are in certain matchups, um, but not in all of them. And unfortunately, Ghost Tricks, they're lacking a lot of support right now. They're going to get it in Legacy of the Valiant, but they're definitely kind of meh right now. A lot of people are playing them. They do feel like the new Madolche. There's a lot of people bandwagoning the deck, I guess you could say, not because it's good, but because it's adorable, because it's got a different condition, and it likes to flip things face down. And as we probably know, stuff like Dracossack and Stardust and those sorts of monsters, even spellbook monsters, they really don't want to be face down, because if they're face down, they aren't applying their effects, they aren't safe from destruction, they aren't able to trigger, they aren't fulfilling conditions, all those sorts of things. Stuff like Ophion goes face down, it's whatever. And it is a really good deck against Evil Swarms, I feel, because it can kind of manipulate Ophion without running into pandemic, which is a very good thing. And so I think that was most of the comments I got. Uh, it does have a lot of good utility. It's got a lot of good extra deck access, I feel. Not so much rank 4, which is unfortunate. It does need... I wish it had Key Beetle access really easily, because then it would be a lot better. But it doesn't really necessarily have that. It plays a lot like a very slow version of Geargia, almost, when you have a Searcher. Actually, in fact, I would say it feels almost like playing Prophecy. It's just a really slow-paced deck, but it doesn't have Fate, and that's really what it's missing, is a Fate. If it had Fate, something like that, it would almost exactly be Prophecy, and without the copious amounts of search. Unfortunately, it has to run a bunch of weaker monsters in order to kind of do what it needs to do, and it's reliant on a field spell. There's a bunch of problems there. But that said, it can definitely lock you up. It can definitely set all your monsters face down and then blow them up and cause you a lot of issues. I'm not going to go so far as to suggest that you should run Nobleman of Crossout, unless you really can't get their Searcher, their Jingashi. I can't even say his name. The guy who flips himself face down with 1800 defense, and he's sort of the Geargia armor of the deck. If you can get rid of that, then usually they're not going to be able to search out everything they need to. I wouldn't, when you play against this deck, I wouldn't suggest trying to go for a big push for game, because they're probably going to be able to stop you. They run so many cards that stop the battle phase or negate attacks or profit off of destruction. When you're playing against it, I would suggest instead trying to play a very slow War of Attrition against them, and just make sure they're not getting a bunch of cards. That's the worst thing you can let them do, is just get a bunch of stuff. The deck won't do a whole lot if you just sit back, destroy their cards, get a big defender on the board, because they have trouble getting over anything with a lot of defense, and then don't let them just sit on their synchro and destroy your stuff. Another thing here is that tokens are amazing. If you've got Dracosac, detach, get those tokens. They can't be flipped face down. If they can't be flipped face down, they can't do a lot of stuff. They can't even get past your like if you've got a Dracosac, if they go to concealing, you flip the Dracosac face down. That's it. They can't attack you directly with Mansion, because you've got the face-up token, so it's a face-up monster, therefore it doesn't count. And then lastly, Scapegoat actually works really well here. You can just flip the Scapegoat. It forces them to turn all those guys who would normally be attacking you for a bunch of life points into, okay, I gotta attack all your Scapegoat tokens now, because they're all sitting there face up. And I realized this was really potent when I was playing Mecha Phantom Beasts against Ghostricks, is that if you have stuff that can't go face down, it really hurts them, and that includes trap monsters, which I believe can't go face down. If I'm pretty sure cannot be set face. I'm actually looking at the wiki right now. Set. It doesn't say. I'm pretty sure they can't go face down, because they're kind of like a token monster. Face down. Oh no. No. Well, they what? Is that really the case? Wow, I'm learning things today. I guess if they're set face down, they return to being a trap card, and they go back to the spell and trap card zone. I did not know this. I've never encountered a scenario where this is the case. Today you learned, viewers. We learned about trap monsters. Anyways, yeah, playing those against them, that might be interesting. I don't know. That would be cool. Huh. Weird. Anyways. Yeah, that is really weird. Yeah. That's about it for today, I think. Next week is all Boujins and cool stuff. So definitely check that article out. And of course you can see on my article Head Judge Julia Hedberg's comment on there about being a ghost trick, about having the ghost trick intern. Oh, that was pretty funny. I actually didn't see her comment until I just looked a little bit earlier, so I'll have to message her about that. But yeah, Ghostricks are pretty fun. I'm sure they're gonna get better. And if you need side deck cards, you can always reference this article later. I'm sure it'll work out pretty well. Yeah, cool. Yeah, and it's cheap too. A la carte is like $9. Sweet, cool. Um, and that's all I have. So thank you for listening and watching. And until next time, then.